All right, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Ruffin, and today I'm going to do a top 5 movies of the year. Top 5 my movies of the year. And if you find anything on here you disagree with, if you think my list is wrong, tell me in the comments. What's your top 5 of the year? And this is of what I saw, so I didn't see every movie, obviously, and didn't go to the theater too many times, and didn't really watch a lot of on streaming. I mean, probably more than the average person, but compared to like movie YouTubers, probably not a lot. So, with that being said, let's get right into it.
The Surrealist McCoy.
All right. My number 5 is Trap by M. Night Shyamalan. And I know this is probably not on a lot of people's top 5, but I just had a lot of fun with this. Just always on the edge of my seat. What's going to happen next? And it seemed like this guy, he's always getting out of everything. It kind of reminded me of, there's this movie 2012 with John Cusack. And it just felt like that movie is like, oh, now they're getting out of this situation. They're always flying a plane and the runway is crumbling behind them. And, it's just kind of silly thing. But I think this was like the same thing. It's like this guy, he keeps getting out of these situations. I mean, they give away the premise. There is no twist with this. The twist is they tell you in the trailer that he's a serial killer. And he's going to a concert, and then they stage this whole thing where they're trying to catch him. It's super, like, unbelievable premise and super silly. But I don't know. I just had a lot of fun with this, and I just like M. Night Shyamalan. I like all his stuff. I just like the weird dialogue, the weird vibes. I don't know. It just has this, they all have this kind of weirdness where the people don't really act like normal people. And I like it. Just something about his style is really good for me. I think he has this like curse of, because he made The Sixth Sense, and then everybody expects everything to be like that, and to be like this all-time classic, but I don't really care about like this movie as far as like it having plot holes or they're really reaching with this, and I just kind of like it. I think for me, just got to go with it sometimes. I think Josh Hartnett, he really crushed it in this movie. I was even thinking like towards the end, he does this creepy smile, and I'm like, obviously there's a new DC universe starting up, and I think he could be a good Joker just based off of that smile, and just he's a little crazy, he's kind of. And he also was in this really good Black Mirror episode that I would really recommend. So, yeah. And with that being said, this is going to be my number 5. Boom. All right, so number 4 is going to be a comic book movie. I think that's the only comic book movie on the list, which, I mean, this year wasn't great for comic book stuff. I mean, we had, as far as like the big two, DC and Marvel, we only had 2 movies between the 2 of them. So I'm going with Deadpool and Wolverine. I kind of knew what this was going to be going into. It's going to be some cameos. It's going to be some surprises, inside jokes. And, it was predictable in that way. I mean, but it just gave us, everything we wanted. If you've been following this stuff, and Hugh Jackman's been doing this character for 24 years or whatever, and it was just really cool to see him, and I'm glad it wasn't that he was a variant. It wasn't the Logan that we saw. My favorite X-Men or movie, maybe like my favorite Marvel movie, is Logan, and he just got such a big dramatic sad ending to that character. And in this one, they kind of joke about it and everything. But this particular Wolverine that we see is a different one than that one, from a different universe. And I'm glad they did that. It was cool. Great comedy, great action. as always with these, I mean, this is the third Deadpool, and it just really keeps the awesome fight scenes. I mean, there's a John Wick style fight. I mean, there's a lot of John Wick stuff, but I mean, the one where they fight in the car, they're like fighting in the car, and it's amazing. I mean, and then there's like the kind of side-scrolling fight, which I've heard people say is like the Old Boy shot or whatever. Like a lot of movies have paid homage to it, but they're fighting all these guys, and it's kind of like this slow scrolling shot. But the cameos are awesome. But I gotta say, Blade was really awesome. I mean, that's the one that really just was like, what? You know, I audibly like reacted to that, seeing Wesley Snipes as Blade. Just dude, like it was just a lot of fun at the theater. We went to see this one twice in the theater, so I think that just shows you, a couple of other characters. I mean, I thought were good. As the Paradox guy. I mean, he's I think he's like an English actor. He's been in Succession and some other stuff, but he's just hilarious. I mean, this guy. And then Charles Xavier's sister, I think, was a really cool highlight. She's a really cool character. I mean, she dies at the end of this, but I mean, I'd like to see that character again and see her interact with Charles Xavier or something. I mean, knowing Marvel, I mean, they got the whole multiverse, and there's probably multiples of her character. But yeah, I mean, this is just a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's gonna be my number 4. Alrighty, this next one is a recent one that I just saw. And I had a feeling it would be, I was already planning on doing a top 5, and I had a feeling that this would be on here, but my number 3 is Nosferatu. And yeah, like I said, I had a feeling this would be up here in the top 5 because the director, Robert Eggers, he is very good. He made The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman, which I still got to finish The Northman. For whatever reason, something happened when we were watching that and whatever. But that was very good, what I did see. I really like this movie, how it it might as well be black and white. It isn't 100% black and white, but, the nighttime scenes and the moonlight, and it's like, but, it'll be like mostly black and white, but then somebody's clothes will be like kind of tan or something. So just all that stuff, the color grading or whatever, and all the cinematography, I mean, it's amazing. Just for that alone, if you're just into movies and film and stuff like that, I mean, just go just to look at the amazing shots that they do in this. I mean, it's really good. And, I will say the only little downside of this is, the third quarter of it, it was a little dragging for me, but I'm wondering if it was kind of an energy that I brought into it. 'Cause sometimes, if you got like a headache or you bring in some other stress into the theater with you, maybe it wasn't the movie, maybe it was me. Because, a few days later, I'm kind of like, well, it wasn't dragging that bad, you know what I mean? But I just love this whole, Nosferatu was originally, a ripoff of Dracula. And they said, when they lost in court, and they said, you got to destroy all the copies of this, but it just wasn't feasible to do that, and, end up the rights to the Nosferatu thing, or Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book, got sold, and now we got a few of these things of Nosferatu. Oh, and I really like this. There's this idea of like there's a plague going on with the rats, and so it kind of leads people to not really believe what's going on with the vampire. There's a vampire, and it's like, well, no, there's a damn plague. It's a real thing happening. I like when they give you something like that where they have a reason to not believe it. Like in the 2013 Evil Dead, there was the premise of that is the main chick they're going to this cabin in the woods because she's trying to get off drugs. And so when all this crazy stuff starts happening, they don't believe her. They're like, no, we said we weren't going to leave this cabin. Like, you're going to sweat this out and blah, blah, blah. So similar thing with this, with the plague. I love like Bill Skarsgård, the voice he's doing, and he's constantly making noise. He's like, and he talks, and then it's like it's constant, he's like wheezing, and I love the look of this. I mean, I'm really glad they kept it out of the trailer, like what he looks like. I mean, Willem Dafoe crushes it. I mean, it's like the movie was good, and then he shows up, and it's just like boom, it just like perks everything up. Him being in it, I didn't even realize Lily Rose Depp is a. I didn't realize that's who that was. That it's Johnny Depp's daughter. But man, there's a part where she just goes off, and your eyes go in the back of her head, and just she does a really good job. Like everybody in this is amazing. So I knew this was gonna be good, but it was really good. And I am thinking about maybe going back to the theater because I'm like, hey, you never know when it'll come back. It might be, it could be a long time before this is in the theater again. So I'm thinking about it. But yeah, that's my number 3. All right, my number 2. These pictures might be giving it away. Civil War, written and directed by Alex Garland. This was amazing. I think I did a review of this, but it's on my TikToks. This is before, it might have been before I started this channel. I was talking about movies, but this is real, especially in the theater. I mean, this is like visceral, white knuckle, on the edge of your seat. It's so good. And I remember like, I love that did this thing where there was this movie a couple years ago called Barbarian, which the trailer had shown you something, and it kind of leads you to believe a certain thing about like, okay, maybe the story is about this, and then you watch the movie and they go kind of like a detour. This movie sort of has a similar thing. There's a character that's shown the trailer, and then when they run into that character, it's just, I love when they do that. I love when they don't give away the whole movie, and I also like when they throw you I think the people call it a red herring, where you're kind of looking one way, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be this. No. Nick Offerman is the president in this, and I've heard that there's one of the complaints of this is that they don't really explain why this Civil War is happening, or, it's like California and Texas are teamed up, and and I think the only thing they really give you is kind of like, well, he's on his 3rd term or his 4th term, which in America you're only supposed to get 2 terms. So to me, that's enough. I mean, I don't need it to be, because the movie's not about that. The movie's not about the politics of why is this happening, blah blah blah. It's just this guy is going into 3rd and 4th terms. So yeah, obviously there would be people mad about that. But, I kind of wish Nick Offerman was in it more. But, I mean, that's not what it's about. It's about the journalists, and they're wartime journalists, and they're following all this stuff. And just this is so scary. I mean, the way that the sound is in this movie is just, it'll be like quiet and then really loud. And it's like these boom. And especially in the theater, it was like, whew, it was hitting like so hard. And there's at the end, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to maybe keep this spoiler free, so I don't know if I want to. But this was truly scary. I mean, I watch horror and stuff like that. I'm not really scared. And even Nosferatu, it's like I was kind of like laughing the whole time because it's just so enjoyable to me when things are like just super dark and there's just crazy stuff happening. Like, oh, they went there. This is actually scary. Just imagining being in these situations. And I just think for it to really pull that out of me, and for me to be in the theater and be so scared like that. Yeah, I just think this is top of the line. All right, before we get to my number 1, I wanted to give some honorable mentions. And so these would be probably like 6 and 7 if I did that. But we got Maxine, which is part of the trilogy with Pearl and X. We got Mia Goth crushing it as usual. But didn't quite feel like this reached the levels of Pearl. But it was fun. It was a good, like, kind of nasty kind of movie, drive-in kind of movie. And it was cool. It had like a little Tarantino vibe of like they're doing something that's like an original story, but there's kind of like a surrounding a historical event, which is the Night Stalker. And but yeah, this one was good. I just, they kind of, with the end, with the reveal of who the killer was, but it's amazing. I mean, I love this trilogy, but it's just, not quite good enough to be in my top 5. And with the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, this one was so good that I remember being like 10, 20 minutes into it, and I already kind of was like, man, I hope they make a sequel with it for this, because it was already like, I was thinking like, are they gonna be able to do like everything they need to do? Like, is this just like a single movie? And then I paused the movie and Google it, and it's like, yeah, they're making a trilogy. So, but yeah, just love all these Planet of the Apes movies. I was kind of like, man, because Andy Serkis, that's my guy, and I like those movies, and so I didn't know, and then this pleasantly surprised by this. So, it ends on kind of a cliffhanger-y type of thing, but I just love the concept of like that. It's hundreds of years later, so the audience, us, we know more about what was going on with Caesar and all that stuff. And then the characters in the movie, they know more about like the current time and what's going on with that. But anyway, these will be like my number 6 and 7 or whatever. But yeah, just wanted to give them a little shout out, whatever. All right, my number 1 movie of the year is
Dune Part 2.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? This is great soundtrack. Hans Zimmer, he just expanded on the first one. You still got the same like themes coming in, but there's some new ones that I really like, and I do listen to this album quite a bit, just to revisit those feelings and those vibes. I mean, you gotta just give it up for the casting of this. I mean, you got the only thing I would say about the casting is Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken. I wish they were in this more. You know what I mean? Because they're great. But the MVP of this is Javier Bardem as Stilgar, and he's added some comedy into this, which I don't know if the first one was as much comedy, but it's just the right amount, But like it's like hilarious. I watched this a couple times now, and it's just every time he believes in Paul so much. Every time he does something, he's like, as it was written, because Paul's this kind of Messiah type of character, and they kind of always believed he would come, and so he believes it. Like he'll like sneeze, and he'll be like, oh, he sneezes like as it was written. It's just funny, and it became like kind of a joke online. But the action is really good. I remember like maybe some criticism of the first one was there was a lot of action, or maybe it was just kind of slow, but that one was building this one up. It's setting the stage for this one. And so this one's got a lot more, war, like bombing type stuff. And then there's like hand-to-hand stuff. This guy, Austin Butler, plays Fade Ralpha. And he's really scary, super creepy. And, when they go to these guys' planets, the Harkonnens, I thought it was a really cool thing when they're outside, it's like black and white, and then when they're inside, it's more, normal color. It's kind of like Nosferatu, like the black and white type of thing with the moon. It's almost like moonlight, but yeah, they got some great fights in here with them, and Paul getting accepted by the people on Arrakis, and he's riding a sandworm, and just super epic. And I mean, I think, I would hope that this will be looked at as like on the same level as Star Wars original trilogy and Lord of the Rings trilogy. Cause I think it's on that level, and I think, one of the reasons is, we got these great books by Frank Herbert and all this lore and all this stuff. It feels real, I mean, Star Wars stole a lot of this stuff. So, but just, I mean, even as a movie, it reminds me of Lord of the Rings, because all these different cultures, they have all their certain look, and it feels very lived in. It feels real. I mean, this planet, they look like this, and because you have such a rich source material to build on, it just gives you a lot to work with. And I think they do a real good job of like not giving you all of it. You got to take some of the stuff out, because it wouldn't be good in a movie. I think they do a really good job of taking certain things out, changing some of the stuff to make it just boom, 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 just hit you like a movie. You know, a movie needs to kind of keep it going a little bit. You know, yeah, like casting. I mean, Rebecca Ferguson, she's always good. I mean, liked her in Doctor Sleep. She was a really good bad guy in that, and she's got a little bad guy vibe in this. But there's a scene where she drinks the water of life, and it's like she's taking on all the memories of all the ancestors and whatever. And that part, I had like an anxiety attack in the theater, but like in a good way or something. I don't know. It's just the sound design and the music. Yeah, it's just awesome. And I love like you get like Batista and Josh Brolin kind of because in the MCU, you know, he's Drax, he hates Thanos, and then it's like in this they're reversed, like he's the good guy and Batista's the bad guy. And they had cool little face offs, so it was kind of like a cool little nerd thing. But yeah, great music, great, you know, costuming, all this stuff. I mean, this is my number one. You know, I hope to keep making these. I mean, there's a few more of the original books by Frank Herbert. I don't know if they're going to make all of them, but I know it's confirmed they're making Dune Messiah, which is the second book, but this will be like the third movie. So maybe they'll just do it like a trilogy. But yeah, we'll see. I hope they keep making them, but yeah, this is just, I think this is sort of like a generational sci-fi fantasy type of thing. I mean, I hope that, you know, when we look back, it will be looked at like that. But, you know, that's up for the consensus to decide. But for me, it's my number one of 2024. All right, and that's my list. If you want to tell me in the comments about how Trap sucks or something, or you just want to tell me your top 5 or anything I missed, anything I should check out, leave me a comment in there. And yeah, I think I'm going to watch the DCEU movies and maybe do a ranking of that. I know that's quite a few movies, but just with Superman, the new Superman reboot, and they're starting a new universe, I thought it might be fun to check out the DCEU because now it's obviously ended, and maybe do one of these ranking type of things with those. So look forward to that, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and that's it.